Brian, calling from Baltimore, man. You know the rat hole that Trump said the city is right next to D.C. I was over there for a job Monday, and just watching how the cops. I mean, they're just harassing young black men. I mean, it's ridiculous, and I'm looking at this like this is a waste of money. I'm watching this National Guard stand around twiddling their thumbs, absolutely stupid. But let me say this on the Smithsonian thing. I'm not, as a black man, I'm not surprised because as I told, I have a couple of people that I consider friends that, Caucasian, they voted for Trump, but they're good people. They just made a bad decision.
Mm-hmm.
I don't say all people who voted for Trump are racist, but all the racists voted for Trump.
Oh, there's no question about that. But by the way, it's not just about him, trying to get rid of history of slavery. As I mentioned before, the restoration of these monuments honoring Confederates, renaming these military bases. I mean, everything points to the fact that it's about make America white again. I've been saying that over and over again. Everything Donald Trump does is, at least in my estimation, is to attack minorities, to erase black history. If he had it in his way, there'd be no Martin Luther King Jr. Day. There would be no Black History Month. They want to get rid of all of this black history, and they only want to talk about how great this country is. And there's a lot of things about this country that are great, but it doesn't mean that we ignore our past, like slavery.
Right. And let me say this. Saying Trump is a racist is too simple because he actually has no belief system. Whoever likes him, he likes what they like. So if 60, 70, 80% of black folks say, oh, we really love Trump, he's great, he'd be all for black people. But because the white supremacists and the bigots have sided with, have shown an affinity to him,
mm-hmm.
he adopts whatever they believe. So he's even more dangerous than a George Wallace, who was an ardent racist, because he believes whatever the last person in the room tells him. And that's really dangerous to be in a position as a president. And let me say this, I'm not surprised, and it doesn't affect my day-to-day life if you remove some of that stuff from the Smithsonian, because all you do is force those folks who want to know to seek that information out unfiltered. So the only concern I would have is when he's gone from office is that history reflects on him appropriately, which shows the demagogue and disastrous president and person that he was. And as I tell people now, I say he may not be a pedophile, but he's pedophile adjacent.
I agree.
So,
I agree. I think what we need to do is we need to put a picture of Donald Trump next to David Duke, and on the other side, Jeffrey Epstein. Because in my opinion, that's who Donald Trump is. He's a guy who associated himself with pedophiles, because I believe he's a pedophile himself. And he's a guy who associated himself with hate groups. That's who Donald Trump is. And we all know the saying, ladies and gentlemen, you are who you hang out with. Tyrone, I do appreciate your call very, very much so. Good luck to your Ravens, my friend, and I appreciate your phone call. Stay safe out there in Baltimore.
Hey, how you doing over there?
Good.
Hey, I just realized and you got to realize this one thing now that I see why Donald Trump had all those tech pros there. Think about it. Now you could take that algorithm out when people want to know about black history. It'll be so hard to find. That's why he had all those tech bros. And you want to talk about racism? They don't want to talk about black history, but they want to put all Confederate generals back in. And so no matter what, we'll be reminded of slavery, because no matter what, these morons are putting back Confederate generals. So what were Confederate generals there for?
Morons. It's Jason, isn't it incredible that when I call Donald Trump a racist to your typical MAGA supporter, they say, where's your proof? And it's very simple. Just look at his policy. Forget about even the things he said in the past and the thousands of discrimination lawsuits that he's had to pay out in New York. Think about it. Suggesting that slavery wasn't that bad. Restoring these monuments that you were talking about with these Confederates. Renaming these military bases. I mean, do these idiots think that that's just a coincidence? He has a history just by policy in proving that he has no respect for African Americans, that he wants to erase history when it involves slavery, unless it benefits him or his white supporters.
I got two more points to say. Two
Yeah.
more points.
Yeah.
Number one, like that man said before, if you support Donald Trump on anything from now on, you are a racist. I don't care what you got to say. You're a racist. And number two, where are the black maggots now? Where are the black maggots to prove, oh, he's not a they all look like morons. Candace Owen and the rest, all morons.
Yep. You're right. Leo Terrell, Candace Owens, Larry Elder, who's done this show before. They're a bunch of clowns, Jason. I appreciate your call, my friend. Thank you very much. And I agree with you 150%. Carlos is next. Hi, Carlos.
Hey, how you doing, Brian?
Good.
Basically, if you want to know if Trump is racist, you just have to realize that we're living in 1930s Germany.
Mm. Well, you know, if you had
everything that's happening,
yeah,
you could tell on the pattern is. I mean, I'm not trying to mock the Holocaust when I say that, but if you just look at the pattern, everything is the same. I mean, Alligator Alcatraz is like the death camps.
Mm-hmm.
The Republicans that's complicit are like the Nazis,
mm-hmm.
and Trump is basically like Hitler.
I got to tell you, I got to be honest with you. A year ago, 5 years ago, I didn't like it when people made those comparisons, but I have to tell you, I'm not going to say I'm going to make that comparison myself, but I will say I understand why people are making those comparisons. I understand, because if you look at some of the things that Donald Trump is doing, it's a dictatorship, it's an oligarchy, it's blatant bigotry, and he doesn't care. And it is in the early days of Adolf Hitler, with Donald Trump's verbiage and what he's doing. And if people want to say, Brian, there's no comparison. All right, well, look at Donald Trump's policies. Look at what he wants to erase from history. Look at the difference between the way he treats brown migrants and white migrants. Look at the way he treats people based on policy, white people and brown people. I mean, it's overwhelmingly obvious.
And also, don't forget.
Yeah, I hear you.
Don't forget also in 2017 when the writers were saying Jews will not replace us and blood and soil, that's from the Nazis.
Correct.
The Nazis used to say that.
Correct. You're right, Carlos. I'm with you, man. I'm with you 150%. I would have never been okay with that comparison even maybe 7 or 8 months ago. I understand why people are making those comparisons now, and I could defend that position based on policy alone.
Hey, Brian, I was listening to your conversation, and I think a part of this also has to do with classism, because if you recall about the Constitution only applied to those white men who owned property. Women weren't allowed to vote or have any say within the Constitution, and Black slaves were considered 3/5 human. But now, if you look at the way that history has gone on, white people were always told by the elite that your whiteness makes you a little bit of a level better than what Black people are or what other minorities are. It's your whiteness that is key for you. If you've ever noticed, if you see people becoming influent, particularly people of color who become influent, and we have had cities in this nation where we had affluent people like Black Wall Street and what have you, and we were doing business within those our own communities, there were bigots that would always come and tear them down.
Well, can I ask you though? I agree with what you're saying. I want to ask you, what would be your message to those who are defending Trump when it comes to saying it's too negative and we don't want to focus on how bad slavery was in some of our museums? What would be your message to them?
My message to them would be, this is a part of our history, whether you like it or not. And until you actually reconcile your own feelings about slavery, about our history, Black history is America history. Until you can see that this is all a power play between the elites to keep you from siding with the poor people so that you could also have political power, we're always going to have this problem of racism in here because quite frankly, if you dig down, it is racism sells. Racism is a big selling point to people. And until people can organize and people can get together and say, you know what? The CEO who's making 300 times more than the people that actually are working hard to make that CEO rich, they deserve to participate in the wealth as well. Until you get people that will, band together and stop using race as a tool to divide us, nothing will ever change. We have to have a reconciliation in this country if we're ever going to have change.
Very well said, my dear. Very, very well said. I don't think anybody could have said it better. I could not agree with you more. I'm up against a break here. I do really appreciate your call.